What's up everyone, and welcome back to a new skill capped video. Have you been looking for some new builds to try out now that everything has settled down a little bit? Well, we've got you covered. Today we'll be breaking down 10 of the most hidden OP builds in preseason that very few players are using. These builds all have very high win rates or are being abused by high elo players, but the general player base has yet to start building them at a considerable rate. With that being said, let's get right into the video. The first build we want to highlight is starting to become a lot more popular over in Korea, but is yet to see much play over in the western regions. The build is a Goredrinker rush into Ravenous Hydra on Zed. We've already seen this build become extremely strong for Talon, and it's trending in the exact same direction for Zed. Goredrinker currently holds a 3% higher win rate as a rush item than either Eclipse or Duskblade for Zed. The build has around an 8% play rate in Korea, but is rarely played at all in NA or EU. What makes the build so strong is its tankiness combined with its insane sustain and dueling threat. If you choose the lethality route, you're going to burst for a little more, but you won't do as well in extended fights. This Goredrinker Ravenous build on Zed still allows him to burst pretty well, but also gives the champ a lot more versatility. Instead of comboing your target and then having to dip immediately, you can stay in fights longer. And if you do drop low, you can heal up super quickly to get right back in there. Your third core item with this build path is usually a Serodas Grudge or a Black Cleaver. Go Black Cleaver if you want some more tankiness, or Serodas if you want more raw damage. The rune page you will take with this build consists of Conqueror as your keystone, as it just adds to the insane healing and dueling potential of the build. For your secondary runes, Transcendence and Scorch is what you want to run. Sylas has a new, really strong rush item for this patch, Everfrost. Everfrost's ability haste was increased from 10 up to 20, which makes the item a much stronger pickup. It works great for Sylas because it gives him a nice mix of HP, mana, and ability haste. Although Liandry's is by far the most popular right now for Sylas, it leaves him very squishy and therefore a lot more vulnerable. The extra HP you get from Everfrost allows you to stay in fights longer and stall time for another massive W heal. The active portion of Everfrost is also extremely strong for the champ. The slow it provides allows for Sylas to almost always guarantee that his E will land. If you can land your E first and then follow with the Everfrost route, it will put your opponent into a 2.5 second CC lock, which gives you and your team so much time to take the target out. Once you complete Everfrost, the rest of his build is pretty standard. If you want more burst, you can go Lichbane second, but for more survivability, Zhonya's is a great choice. Third item is usually Zhonya's or Lich as well. Basically, whichever you didn't build second, you can build third. For runes, you can run Fleet Footwork, Conqueror, or Electrocute. For more difficult lanes, Fleet is great for the sustain. And for easy matchups, if the enemy comp has more tanky champs, running Conqueror is great, but against lots of squishies, the burst from Electrocute can be really strong. For secondary runes, take Mana Flow Band and Transcendence. The combo gives him much needed mana sustain and makes his skirmish so much stronger due to the haste you get from Transcendence. Our third build to break down is a new one for League's newest brothers, Yasuo and Yone. A lot of Korean high elo players have been rushing Mortal Reminder as their first core item right after Berserker Greaves. The build gets even stronger this patch as well, since Mortal Reminder's cost was reduced from 2,700 to 2,500 gold. This item is perfect for Yasuo and Yone because it gives them all the stats they want in an item for a very early spike. Crit, attack speed, attack damage, and move speed. 2,500 gold is so much cheaper than the 3,400 you need for Shield Bow, so you come online really early on. If you're against a champ who heals, the Grievous Wounds is really just a bonus. Most high elo players are rushing the item regardless if their opponent has healing, but if you're against a Sylas, Akali, Echo, or Vlad, it's just that much stronger. Now, you'll still pick up Shield Bow, but you'll just delay it till your second item. With Infinity Edge buffs in this patch, it's going to be your third item pickup for almost every single game. For runes, nothing has really changed here. Fleet and Conqueror are still great situationally depending on your matchup, and for secondary runes, Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter are the best. So guys, it looks like Tank Ezreal has made its return. With Iceborne Gauntlet's removal, most of us probably thought that those days of Tank Ez would be gone, but now there's a new build that's been popping up. The build consists of Frozen Heart as your third core item. The build is actually the most popular in Korea right now, but has yet to make its way over to the western regions very much. Although the item doesn't give Ezreal any extra damage, it gives him a lot of mana and haste, which are both stats he really likes. Slap on that 80 armor and the ability for the enemy Zed to one-shot you goes down the drain. We should mention that the first two items will be exactly the same as before. Manamune into Divine Sunderer will remain core. You should also only build Frozen Heart 3rd when it actually makes sense. It's his best build right now against heavy AD compositions, but if the enemy comp consists of mainly AP damage, then building your Ravenous Hydra 3rd is still a great option. For your rune page, take Conqueror as your keystone, and run with Sorcery secondary, taking Mana Flow Band and Transcendence. A new Graves build that has started to garner a lot of attention in the higher elos over the past few patches is a Gale Force Rush. Damwon Gaming's jungler Canyon has been spamming this item in solo queue, even before the buffs Gale Force received in this patch. The outplay potential you have here is really insane. Graves already has his E-dash, and then combined with Gale Force, your kiting ability and catch goes through the roof. An aspect of Gale Force that a lot of people are underestimating right now is the execute damage it has on the active. When enemies are below 30% health, it does 50% more damage. This makes Graves' one-shot potential even more insane than it was before. The rest of your build will include the Collector and Infinity Edge. With all this crit, you will be mowing down your opponents with ease throughout the entire game. The runes you will want to run is Face Rush as your keystone, with Precision secondary taking Triumph and Alacrity. A crazy strong build for Akali that has been flying under the radar is a Rocket Belt Rush. The item just gives her so much more snowball and catch potential due to the gap close and move speed it provides. As long as you can reach your target with Akali, her ability to 1v1 and take them out is relatively simple. By running Rocket Belt, it makes her pick and sticking power that much better, so you'll find yourself picking up so many more kills. The stats really back this up as well. Rocket Belt has around a 4% higher win rate than the more popular item on Akali right now, which is Riftmaker. Your build after Rocket Belt will include Zhonya's, Lichbane, and Demonic Embrace. The order in which you build these items though is really based on the situation, and that's something you need to be able to decide for every game. For Akali's Keystone rune, it's very versatile. Fleet is great if you want net sustain, Conqueror against bruiser or tankier champs, and Electrocute against mainly squishies. Secondary runes will be Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter, or Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace, depending on what you take as your primary. With AP Kayle being nerfed in 1025, crit has started to pick up again. Kraken Slayer as her rush item actually now has the best win percent out of any rush item and is super underrated. Phantom Dancer works perfect for her second item, and with the Infinity Edge buff, slap that on third and you will be hitting as hard if not harder than AP Kayle at your 3 item spike. For those wondering how AD Kayle can even work, her passive, Q, E, and ult all have AD ratios on them, so the synergy with Kayle's kit is much better than you may have thought. Kraken Slayer combined with Press the Attack allows for Kayle to spike really hard at one item. Kayle has an auto attack reset in her kit with E, so her ability to super quickly proc those 3-hit passives makes her short trades really strong. Now, if your comp is pretty heavy on the AD side, then building AP Kayle is still completely viable for 1025. We just wanted to highlight that AD is also very strong, and in situations to where you have an AP mid and jungler, going crit Kayle will be the way to go. For your rune page, take Press the Attack as your keystone, and then run Resolve secondary with Bone Plating and Overgrowth to give yourself some more survivability. Another champ you should be looking to abuse Gale Force on after its buffs is Draven. Gale Force works so well with his playstyle because he wants to be super aggro and up in your face. Your ability to outplay, burst, and one-shot once you pick it up is amazing. It gives him some much needed survivability as well for those teamfights since he doesn't have a gap closer in his kit. With all the dive champions and CC in the game these days, having a gap closer to reposition in fights is so valuable, and Gale Force helps get rid of one of Draven's weaknesses. You're gonna want to follow up your build with a Collector and Infinity Edge, which gives Draven a really nasty 3 item spike. For your runes, take Hail of Blades as your keystone to allow you to burst even harder. Grab Presence of Mind and Bloodline in your secondary runes. After Ivern's buffs this patch, he's seen a big spike in win rate and play rate. The best build on him right now though is really interesting as it does not include rushing a mythic item. Cosmic Drive Rush Ivern is outperforming everything else, especially in the higher elos. The reason it's so strong is that it gives 30 ability haste, the most from any AP item in the game. Haste is one of the best stats you can buy on Ivern, since spamming his E and providing his team with consistent shields is where he's at his strongest. After Cosmic Drive, you want to complete either Moonstone Renewer or Imperial Mandate. Moonstone tends to outperform Imperial, but both are great options. For more survivability, you can go Moonstone, and if you want more damage, then go Imperial. To really max out your ability haste, you can go Ionian Boots. Ionian Boots with Cosmic Drive and Moonstone will be giving you 65 ability haste. You also want to be taking the ability Haste Rune Shard, which provides you with another 8 haste. To stack even more of that haste, take Transcendence in your runes, giving you another 10, which finally tops you off with a total of 83 haste at 2 items. This makes Ivern's mid-game teamfighting absolutely disgusting. If you guys aren't familiar with the haste to CDR conversion yet, 83 haste is the same as 45% CDR. This means Ivern's E will have a 3.8 second cooldown when maxed out if you go for this setup. Now we should note that if you prefer Mobies, then you can still build those as well, but Ionian Boots have been performing better in this patch. Your third item can be an Ardent, Staff of Flowing Water, or Redemption based on what fits your comp the best. For runes, you'll take Airy as your keystone, and then Domination secondary with Cheap Shot and Relentless Hunter. And then our 10th and final build to highlight for this patch is Mandate Rush on support Anivia. With Anivia's buff in this patch, she has become a top tier mid laner and is also super undervalued in a support role. Mandate is perfect for support Anivia because she has such an easy way to proc the bonus damage consistently with her ultimate and Q. After Mandate, you can go into an Archangels, or skip it entirely and build Zonius. If the enemy comp has super hard engage, then prioritizing Zonius over Archangels would be ideal. Having Archangels is still really nice though for support Anivia, since she'll run into mana issues without it. If the enemy team has lots of healing, pick up an Oblivion Orb, and then your third core item will be Demonic Embrace. Take Electrocute as your keystone and support Anivia. It gives you a surprising amount of burst early on, and you'll find yourself dealing more damage than you expect. Make sure to take Precision secondary with Presence of Mind to help out with your mana issues.